You've also, in terms of this, um, uh, the gun safety now that has come back to the fore, and I think may stay there for a while, thanks to these students. About a map that sort of explains it all. Why that we don't have any tougher gun control laws.
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple, the gun issue, ultimately. If you go wade through all this complex research and obfuscation from people who have various different agendas in this debate, the United States has too many guns. And this map that you're referring to is one that it's from 2012 data, and it looked at the number of guns per capita in the United States versus every other country on Earth. And the U.S. had twice as many as the next recorded country, which is Yemen. Roughly twice as many. And Yemen is a country.
Really? Yemen,
yeah,
and the United States are the two top
largest,
of gun ownership.
at least according to 2012 data. So that was before the Yemen war.
I bet it's worse now because every time there's a mass shooting, people run out and buy more guns, right?
Yeah, I mean, you had the whole last 4 years of the Obama administration and Sandy Hook after that.
Right.
So it could very well be more inside the United States. And it's just, I mean, lots of people are stockpiling guns. And it's interesting because the percentage of Americans who own guns has gone down, but the per capita ownership of guns has increased because people have hundreds, some people, or dozens in other cases. It's just, it's mind-boggling when you think about the fact that anyone might argue they need all those weapons. Like, what are you going to do? Like, just if somebody runs into your house, like shoot somebody, then drop your gun and then pick up the next three with all three of your arms?
I know somebody's going to correct me right away, but it's hard for me to imagine that anybody could fire more than one gun at a time. You certainly could not fire more than two at a time. Let's say at the most you could have one in each hand, right?
And even then, if you go to gun trainings, they all say like that thing in the movie where you get the hero shooting with two guns. You can't do. It's hard to be accurate while doing that. Like that's just not how guns work. You need to stabilize with two hands.
But I find that stunning. I never heard that before. That fewer people own guns, but more people own more guns.
Yes. Yeah, that's the trend in the past 20 years or so inside the United States.
Well, what we've seen from these mass murders is the case like this kid had like 10 guns or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the people who
also, I don't want to put too much grief on the family that, I mean, they thought they were certainly doing the right thing by taking him in, but they knew he had an AR-15 and they allowed him to keep it in his room in a locked closet in his room that he had the key to. I don't know. I've heard two stories about that, but still, doesn't seem to me to be. It didn't go far enough.
No, it's not wise, though. It's probably difficult when you have somebody who's over 18.
Yeah, right. That's why I say I don't want to put too much grief on them, but I mean, but he did have multiple, like you say, multiple guns.
And a history of cruelty to animals, which is usually a key sign that somebody's going to be violent. Yeah.
Right. So this map you're referring to is not a map. I thought a map of the United States. These are a map of countries around the world. Who does the best job in terms of laws affecting particularly assault weapons?
Well, you can't buy them in basically any other advanced democracy, so that's not
okay.
that's not. Right. I mean, I think maybe in Canada you can get them, but you might require. I'm not sure. I shouldn't speculate on that.
Yeah.
But Canada has relatively loose gun laws. Canada, Switzerland, and Israel as compared to other advanced democracies. I think that one system I really like is Japan's. Japan allows you to buy weapons, but you have to demonstrate a purpose, and self-defense is not an acceptable purpose. You need to show that you need it for some other reason. For instance, you're a hunter or something like that. You then need to go through regular gun training and get a license from the government. So they need to know that you're proficient, that you know how to store it, and you have to go with government trainers to do this. And the other thing that Japan does is they put really harsh penalties on illegal possession of firearms, and the penalties go upwards. So if you distributed the gun illegally, you also get a very, very, very serious prison sentence.
Well, I mean, if you need a license to drive a car, why shouldn't you have a license to own a firearm?
That doesn't make any sense to me. I was thinking about this the other day because I was driving, and I was like, well, I could kill a lot of people with this if I wanted to, and I don't. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be here. I'd be in jail. But it required me to learn how to use it properly, because otherwise I could accidentally kill a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And guns are serious business. And there's no purpose for them other than killing. I mean, humans are animals, but that's just what they do. And so the idea
particularly assault weapons, right? There's one purpose: kill as many people as you can, kill as many of the enemy as you can in as short a time as you can.
Yeah, those aren't hunting rifles, right? I read a piece by a veteran on the AR-15 which was adapted from the U.S. military rifle, the M4. And the point that the soldier makes, or former soldier, is that these weapons are designed physically. They're designed for accuracy. They're designed for ease of reloading. They're designed to be customizable. All features that make it very easy to use when you're trying to kill large numbers of people efficiently. It's not just an aesthetic choice, which is what the gun owner people want you to think. Their argument is always, well, why are you trying to ban assault rifles? It's just, rifles that look scary. In actuality, there's a reason that they come from military designs, which are designed for the ease of killing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, what about Australia?
So Australia is...
I mean, you keep hearing about Australia had a mass shooting, mass murder, and then they banned assault weapons?
Yes, that's right. That was in 1996. It was a shooting in a place called Port Arthur. And the Prime Minister...
96?
96.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister was a guy named John Howard, who's... from their Liberal Party, which is actually their Conservative Party. Confusing, I know, but push past it. And Howard decided immediately, basically the day after the shooting, that the response to this had to be gun control. Australia had had mass shootings in the 80s as well. This was a real concern for them. And so he worked together with legislators and Australia's provinces and put together a package called the National Firearms Agreement that not only banned the sale of assault weapons and put restrictions on gun ownership and set up a national firearm registry, but it confiscated 650,000 weapons that were now criminalized, right? They called it a buyback, but really it was they took your guns and they paid you for it. And you didn't have a choice in the matter. And if you had your gun illegally, interestingly, you got an amnesty if you turned it in voluntarily. If not, they were going to arrest you and say you had an illegal gun. So it was designed to limit the number of guns that were in the country. And the theory was that if there are fewer guns, there will be fewer gun killings. Surprise, surprise, it worked.
Or is working still, correct?
That's right. The number of guns per capita is down something like 20% today compared to before the National Firearms Agreement went into force. And the number of, according to statistical tests, the most rigorous evidence we have, there's debate over this, but the best evidence we have suggests that murders have gone down, that suicides have gone down substantially because people tend to kill themselves with guns, and they don't if they have less efficient means of killing themselves. And perhaps most strikingly, there has not been a single mass shooting in Australia since Port Arthur. Not one.
Now, again, you don't want to rush to connect the dots, but those dots, those connections are pretty clear. I mean, we've got 20 years of history now that you can look at, right?
Yeah, and relatively fine-grained statistical analysis, because Australia, unlike the United States, allows researchers to compile federally funded evidence on guns.
Well, we can't do that here because that would be against the Second Amendment.
No, you couldn't possibly understand how guns work better. That's very bad.
Very bad. You said something there that struck me about the buyback or the going after, because I don't really remember, but I don't believe that the 1994 ban on assault weapons included confiscating or buying back existing assault weapons. I think it was strictly a looking forward, which meant that everybody who already had one could keep it.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right. And the 94 law also grandfathered in all of these existing weapons, and it had a...
Which, by the way, is huge, right? As you said, in Australia, what was it, 650,000?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Which I believe, if you adjust for population, would be like 20 million guns in the United States, given how much larger the U.S. is.
Right. Can you imagine? Do you have any idea, when you were doing your research, how many guns in private ownership in the United States?
Last time I checked, it was more than the population. There was more than one gun per person.
So what are we, 350, 370 million or something?
Yeah, 337, today? I think, something like that.
That feels excessive. That feels like maybe too many.
A little. Just like
you know what I mean?
Little.
Yeah. God. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So, how depressed are you about the chances that we'll see any action this year, or do you think anything will change because of the voices of the Douglas High School students and others?
It's a Republican Congress and a Republican president. There's no way. These kids are incredibly brave and are a model, really, of how to participate in public life. This is a separate issue, but it's crazy that they can't vote. Setting that aside, I think what they're most likely to do is galvanize activism and activity on the left, that you'll get more people excited about running for office, about donating and volunteering to campaigns for Democrats, because they will see that these kids' voices will be ignored and belittled. Even today, Donald Trump Jr. favorited a tweet that was insulting one of the kids because his father was an FBI agent, who reportedly was anti-Trump.
Well, I had that conversation yesterday with some friends at CNN about how long it will be before Donald Trump mocks these kids in a tweet. I wouldn't be shocked if he went there, but I don't think he will. But, I guess why am I giving him so much hope?
I was about to say.
He could. He's mocked everybody else, right?
Yeah, Bill, maybe he'll have a change of heart and be a decent human being for a change. Maybe.
Every time you think there's a floor, the bar gets a little lowered, to mix metaphors.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many times have we said he could? You won't believe this, right? We thought it had gone as low as it could go, and then.
Yeah, I mean, we forget some of them. The disabled New York Times journalist, Kaiser Khan, Megyn Kelly with the blood coming out of her wherever, right? All those things from the campaign have been eclipsed by the past year of things, but those were as vicious and personal as it gets. So I don't know why kids, if a Gold Star family can be targeted, I don't know why kids who are targeted by a shooting wouldn't be.
Thanks a lot. The little bit of optimism I had starting this program just flew out the window.
Hey, look, I'm happy to start a lovely morning for you, Bill.